Hey, what's up, YouTube? Brett and Bordy here. Today, we're going to break down the Great Axe in both skill trees. First and foremost, guys, we want to thank you guys for supporting us. We really appreciate it. As of right now, we're at 899, so we'll hit 900 subs, hopefully, today when this video drops in. And again, it's been insane, Bordy. It feels like we just put out that tweet saying thank you, I think, for like, what was it, 300 subs?
Yeah.
And now we're at 900. It's just been a crazy ride, and we appreciate you guys and all your support. Thank you very much, especially to our patrons. Guys, you'll be thanked at the end of the video, as always. And guys, if you haven't already, go check out New World Fans. We have all of these abilities, all the skill trees underneath the database tab. I'll show you real quick. So you just go over to database, and then you look at abilities, and all of the weapons are right there available for you guys to look through and test. And we even have our builder up that'll allow you to kind of create a build out of these abilities and all this attribute points and skill trees and everything like that. It's been awesome, Bordy, because people have been putting up builds constantly. I think there's like 5 or 6 pages right now. It's cool to see everybody's ideas before the game launches of like theory crafting and stuff.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's been fun to watch for sure.
So let's hop right in here with the Great Axe skills and abilities. Now, first and foremost, guys, there are 2 skill trees, the Reaper and the Mauler skill tree. So we're going to jump through the Reaper skill tree real quick. The first ability here is Reap. Now, Reap extends your axe 5 meters, pulling foes to you and deals 107% of weapon damage. This is one of those abilities that is eligible for the taunt gem. So if you have a Carnelian gem, which is one of the taunt gems equipped in your Great Axe, this ability causes a 4-second taunt when hit. Now, the upgrades here are Reap range is now 8 meters. So that's a decent upgrade from 5 meters. Hunger, it heals yourself for 30% damage done, and Fatal Attraction. After you pull, do a spin attack, dealing 122% weapon damage. Bordy, overall, dude, I love that they're like, using some of these abilities in these skill trees to make for a greater diversity of tanking.
Yeah, absolutely. The tanking in the Reap skill line here looks pretty good for sure. But I also like the heal that it does. That also provides a little bit more tankiness whenever you use this ability. But I think here in a second, whenever we take a look at the Mauler tree, we'll see some nice synergy between this specific Reap ability and some of the things that go on in the Mauler tree. So I think there could be some nice mix-ups of some skills going on there as well. So far, so good though, man. I really like this skill on the Great Axe. It's nice. The self-heal, the ability to tank, the damage seems decent. It extends the range. I think it's pretty good so far.
Yeah, and you'll notice a trend with the axe that's different from the other tanking weapons, and that is its ability to keep the position of the enemy under control, which is an important thing for tanking. Obviously, you want to use your aggro to try to keep that mob on you, but they even have the ability to kind of move the mob, which I think is pretty cool. So let's hop right into this next ability here, Bordy, and it is your charge ability. Now, charge is a 10 meter. So basically, charge 10 meters, dealing 130% of weapon damage when you reach the target, or press the left mouse button, which is basically, it will stop you. It can cancel the animation of the charge. So important to note here, this ability has Unstoppable. Unstoppable allows you to perform this ability without being interrupted, which I think is very powerful. So here are the upgrades for this is Frenzied Momentum. So Frenzied Momentum charge now deals 130 to 150% of weapon damage based off of how far you've traveled. So now it gives you a bonus for distance traveled. And then Unpredictable Strike. During charge, you may press the right mouse button to execute a swing attack that deals 150 to 175% of weapon damage based on how far you travel. So this is pretty interesting, Bordy, and again, a pretty unique mechanic here. If you can pay attention to when you think your charge is going to hit, you can hit your right mouse button and kind of alter the attack a little bit to do a greater amount of damage.
Yeah, I like that. It kind of incorporates a little bit of player skill with the ability there as well, and some timing to get used to that ability to do a lot of damage. And I do like the fact that that this is an unstoppable ability, because it is kind of a gap closer. And I think this will be very strong when coupled with a couple of the other abilities in this tree. So the charge unstoppable, man, it's pretty good. I think it doesn't do a tremendous amount of damage just base, but whenever you couple that with unpredictable strike, it does some damage. It's a pretty good ability, man. I like the gap close here. 10 meters doesn't seem like a long way, but it's probably good enough whenever you have your reap that you can pull people in from 8 meters. Maybe you can kind of gap close and then use that reap to pull them in. Some good stuff, man.
Yeah, it is, and you love to see these type of mobility spells on these melee weapons, allowing players to kind of close the gap against ranged weapon. I think it's a really important mechanic for games like this that are action combat related. So here we go. Execute is the final ability in this one. Execute is a powerful overhead attack, dealing 175% of weapon damage. Execute deals 30% more damage if a foe is under 50%, of course. So now the upgrades for that is Execute gains grit during the attack, making it unstoppable, and Executioner. Execute critical hits 100% versus foe at under 30% health. So here, this again, a guaranteed crit hit under 30%, but it deals massive amounts of damage under 50%. So this is another pretty tried and true ability in the MMO genre, and Execute, in like a berserker type of build. I love this. Obviously this kind of broadens the horizon of a great axe and the builds you can make with it, because this is a very damage oriented ability.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the entire Reaper skill tree is very single target focused, except for that one ability along the Reaper line that does this spin at the end. I guess you could get a little AoE out of that, but I think most of all the Reaper is very single target focused, and I like the Execute here at the end. Dude, that does a lot of damage, Red. 175%, and then an additional 30% versus foes under 50% health. That's crazy. We have seen some other Executes on some of the other weapons that we've looked at in the other videos, but I don't think we've seen one quite this strong yet. And that's pretty wild, man. That seems like that's going to be a very powerful ability, a very good finisher.
So the rest of the skill tree does also benefit your crit hits, your crit damage. So that's important to know, because it'll even magnify the amount of damage that these skills can do. But the most important one is the key passive in the Reaper skill tree, and I think this is a unique one, Bordy, one that doesn't really necessarily play well with the entire skill tree, but it is really, really good in PvP, I think. It's called Bloodlust. Now, Bloodlust allows you to move 30% faster and deal 15% more damage when looking at a foe within 15 meters. So this is an overall buff to damage just across the board. 15% is quite a bit, Bordy. And then this ability that allows you to move 30% faster when targeting an enemy within 50 meters. That is going to allow you to track down a lot of players as they try to run away from you.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane, man. People aren't going to be able to get away from you. If you're targeting them, you move 30% faster, you catch up with them. And then if you need to gap close, use your charge. That's 10 meters. So you can dash towards them then. And then you have the Reap to pull them in to kind of control them around your area. The Reaper tree seems pretty good for some kind of 1v1 type of open world PvP situations. Maybe not, maybe even like siege situations. I think that more AoE might be a little bit better whenever you have a ton of people around you. But so far, this Reaper tree seems very, very good kind of in open world, maybe 1v1, 1vx type situations, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun to play in PvP, I think, for sure. I love the great axe, the appearance of it, the idea of having, swinging this massive great axe at your enemies. It's going to be pretty cool to see the builds that people can come up with this for sure. Obviously, and we didn't mention this entirely at the very beginning of the video, but this great axe, it scales entirely off of strength. So 100%, you're going to get 100% of return by placing strength in the attribute tree. And I think that poses for a strong weapon just right off the jump. All right, so the next skill tree here we have is the Mauler skill tree, Bordy. And the first skill we have in that tree is Maelstrom. I was going to say Maelstrom. So fast spinning attack that pulls targets closer to you and deals 115% weapon damage. So here are the updates from Maelstrom. It is Storm's Reach, extends the reach of Maelstrom pulls range by 50%. Absorb consumes all projectiles while in Maelstrom. And then no reprieve. And Maelstrom does an extra spin attack, pulling in foes and dealing 115% of weapon damage. Now, Bordy, this is part of, and I like to consider the Mauler probably the spin to win tree for the Great Axe. And here's your first ability, man. And it's a pretty potent one. Very defensive with some of these passives. But also, you get the bonus to damage as well. So this is kind of a well-rounded ability to start off the Mauler tree.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. And this is more of an AoE focused tree, or very much an AoE focused tree for sure, with all of these abilities in here. So if you like AoE damage, you might want to go with the Mauler tree. And I think this one serves a lot better PvE purposes for just farming mobs in general, right. Maybe leveling up type of situations, versus the Reaper tree we've seen, I think would be very much excel kind of in open world PvP. I think the Mauler tree is going to be more your PvE tree, or maybe really large group scale PvP type of situations. Yeah,
and you made a good point. We talk about the fire staff and how good it is, or how good it should be, as far as farming mobs and getting group pulls and AoEing them down. I think the Great Axe is, especially the Mauler tree, is the equivalent of that in the strength attribute category.
Yeah.
Because it does have some pretty amazing AoE abilities. So let's jump right in here with the next one. That one is Whirlwind. Whirlwind spin attack, dealing 50% weapon damage to all nearby enemies. If you hit a foe, spin again. So basically, you're going to get 4 spins max. So it just kind of registers every time you hit a foe, you get to make another rotation. You can move while spinning. This attack cannot be critical hit. So here we go. Here are the upgrades for Whirlwind. Gusting winds. Whirlwind's maximum number of rotations is increased to 7. And again, important to note, you have to contact each and every spin for it to go again. Unending winds. Whirlwind's movement speed increases by 50%. So you're increasing technically the amount of DPS of this ability pretty significantly with Unending Winds. And then Surrounded, if you have 3 or more foes around you, deal 30% more damage. Obviously, Surrounded ties into our what we were mentioning before about being good at farming, or AoE farming, or mass group pulls. It could also be good like on control points and stuff like that, Bordy. What are your thoughts on Whirlwind?
I think it's an overall good ability, just for what we said, for farming situations and for kind of PvE situations. I don't know how good this would be, and especially not in like a 1v1 scenario, because of the way this ability scales. You only get your maximum hits whenever you hit someone, and I think that somebody would be able to block or dodge out of the way of this ability as it's spinning. So I don't know. I think that's yet to be determined, but it seems like this would excel in some PvE situations for sure. It's a good ability, man.
Yeah, and something like this does pair well with some CC abilities, some things that root people in the place. True. Or even stuns them.
True.
Whirlwind could be more effective against those targets, obviously, but I think the strength of this is definitely going to be in a PvE AoE situation for sure. All right, so here, mentioning rooting abilities, here is the ability, or the last ability, in the Mauler skill tree, and that is Gravity Well. So Gravity Well, throw an axe to create a vortex that pulls foes to its center for 3 seconds. Ends with a damaging burst, dealing 100% of weapon damage. So this is a pretty unique ability, Bordy. I really like the text of Gravity Well. So here are the upgrades here. Crowded Well, increased burst damage by 10% for each foe caught in the vortex. And Unyielding, allies gain 20% fortify while standing in your well. So again, Bordy, this, if you're building a tank here with the Great Axe, I think Reap is probably your standard ability that you're going to use to keep aggro and everything. But I definitely think the second ability that you're going to want to pull is Gravity Well.
Yeah, I would think so. This is definitely something good for a tank. It's got some CC in there, and then it also applies the fortify buff for your allies, which I think is really good. That's something that's going to reduce damage for your allies. It's a pretty unique ability, man. You throw an axe and it creates a vortex that pulls foes to the center of the vortex. I think that's pretty crazy. That's a very unique take on a CC ability, and I like it, man. I'm all about unique kind of new ideas for CC, and this may not necessarily be something brand new to an MMO or anything, but it is pretty unique unique to kind of a great axe skill tree, I think. So I like it, man. Gravity Well seems like it's gonna be a lot of fun to use.
Yes, and the passives in the Mauler tree are based around your ability to hold these enemies in place or pull them to your location, and to increase your tanking abilities with taunting and getting grit on your heavy attack, which again is a very powerful mechanic. So much so that they've even had to nerf it before launch. So that should tell you something. So Bordy, here we go. Here is the key passive in the Mauler tree, and it is called Mauler's Fury. Great axe attacks. That sounds weird. Great axe attacks increase damage by 5% for 3 seconds, a max stack of 10. So Bordy, an interesting choice here again, I think, in the Great Axe tree, because this is a pure damage output key passive underneath the Mauler tree.
Yeah, but I think what this does is it synergizes incredibly well with your spin to win tree that we see here. So the whirlwind, the maelstrom, because every time you hit a foe, your damage is going to increase by 5% for 3 seconds with a maximum of 10 stacks. So if you come over here and you're looking at your whirlwind, you can do 7 rotations if you're hitting mobs. So if you have a ton of mobs around you, you're going to stack that up very quickly if you have this passive on, and then you're going to be doing 50% damage for 3 seconds, or 50% extra damage for 3 seconds, which is crazy, man. So I think that this is a pretty nice synergizing ability with the rest of the things in the tree. And because whirlwind doesn't crit, I think it seems to be fairly balanced with a lot of the things they put in here. And then you have just this overall damage boost is pretty nice to this tree. I think I like it. Again, I think it's gonna be really, really good for farming mobs, man.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see a DPS build in the Great Axe, and you're going to want to push to the end of the Mauler tree, even though it's basically centered around tanking and controlling your foe's location. I think you're going to have to push to the Mauler Fury, because that 50% buff, especially when you're talking about topping that off with a sweet execute, with that 100% crit chance and 175% more weapon damage, and you start to get 50% more damage from that. That is insane, dude. If you hit a character below 30%, Bordy, you're getting the 30% increased damage. 100% crit chance. Sorry, and then you're getting the 175% increased damage, 30% more damage to a foe under 50%, and then 50% more damage from Mauler's Fury, dude. You could probably, if you get someone under 50%, you're going to see some one-shots after that point, because that Mauler's Fury stack is going to be insane.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to get pretty nutty, man. This weapon seems to be pretty strong overall. It looks good, man. It looks real good. I think all of the weapons we've looked at thus far have looked pretty good, man. I don't think that we've seen one that just looks bad so far.
Well, and you want that. Ideally on paper.
Exactly.
You want some definitely some variation in your meta, and I think we're going to see it at least initially, Brody. Seeing people try out stuff, and dude, I can't wait to see it. What I'm excited about is seeing all these builds on New World fans in action in the game. I think that's going to be pretty cool. But Bordy, we're thankful for you guys again. Thank you for joining us for the Great Axe breakdown. We only have a few more weapons left. We're going to get through this entire series. All these videos will be up on New World fans. We're working on guides now for each weapon as well, so we'll probably tag these in those, and then we'll have some nice theory crafting and everything in those guides as well. But again, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.